today on Grid Live pre-race. Formula One races at Mugello. We'll tell you why it's going to be a big race weekend, but not for Ferrari. Scott Dixon won at Mid-Ohio last year. What would happen if he won both races at Mid-Ohio this year? And NASCAR races at Richmond Raceway, second race of the playoffs. All that and more. Grid Live now. Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Live. Joe Sandiego here. Very excited to have you on today's program. We got a lot to discuss about. Along with me, we have Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. Kobe, how excited are you for the race weekend?
Oh, I'm really excited for race weekend, Joe. Just completed the first week of my senior year at UNC Charlotte, and it's certainly been crazy to get back in the swing of things and getting this remote learning thing figured out. Thought I got it figured out in the spring, but apparently not. Yeah, so it's certainly been a challenging week, trying to get back into my schedules with school and everything. Yeah, so I really haven't had a lot of time to focus on motorsports, and certainly they say that motorsports can be a great escape. So I'm very lucky that we have racing this weekend, and for a few moments, I can just sit back, push away the schoolwork, and focus on motorsports as I have been for most of the year.
Definitely, and of course, with us as well from Paddock Inside, Jessica. Jessica, how are you doing today?
Hi, I have a little problem with the connection, but I'm here with you guys to talk about MotoGP and Formula One. You can follow us in Paddock Inside.
Definitely, we're very excited. Definitely, it's going to be a really great show. A lot to talk about. We'll get started with some NASCAR. Of course, NASCAR, they're going to be at Richmond. Richmond, of course, it was supposed to have 2 races this year. Only 1 race due to the pandemic situation going on. The first race of the year had been postponed. Big thing, of course, with the race, looking at trying to see, could someone stop Joe Gibbs Racing? The last 4 races there at Richmond, Joe Gibbs Racing has won them all. Truex won the last 2, and prior to Truex, Kyle Busch, who is winless, looking to try to get that first win this year, which is crazy to say that Kyle Busch has not won and we're already in the playoffs. Don't count out Denny Hamlin, though. He's looking to respond back to Harvick's win. He always seems to come back with a win after Kevin Harvick tried to keep up with him. Kobe, will Hamlin or any Joe Gibbs driver be in victory lane today?
While I do think that Denny Hamlin is going to make it to the championship 4, make a deep run to playoffs, I do not think that Denny Hamlin is going to get a win tonight in his home state of Virginia at Richmond. However, I do think that it's going to be a Joe Gibbs Racing driver in victory lane, so stay tuned when we get to pick a winner at the end of today's program.
Yeah, definitely it's going to be really exciting to see who's going to come out with a win. Of course, if you're in the playoffs, a win means you go to the next round. The last time Kevin Harvick won there, though, was 2013, so it was a long time ago. So definitely we're going to be trying to see how Kevin Harvick handles. He already locked in for the next round. Will he go out, try to get more playoffs points, make that lead even bigger to secure his spot in the Final 4? Everyone else, they're just trying to continue their playoff run. Let's take a look at the playoff picture right now. As you can see, Kevin Harvick, he is in securely. But the big one, look at essentially 7th place all the way down to 16th. They are way behind Kevin Harvick when it comes to points, and then they're so close to the cutoff point when it comes to the playoffs. When it comes to this race at Richmond, who do you feel needs to win more than anybody?
Well, when I'm looking at the playoff grid right now, I feel like Ryan Blaney needs to win more than anyone, especially after the penalty he received last week. Now he at the moment he would not advance to the round of 12. And when you look at Richmond, it's actually one of Ryan Blaney's worst tracks. Ryan Blaney's raced there since 2016, and Ryan Blaney has never led a single lap at Richmond, and his average finish is a disappointing 25.5, which is one of the worst average finishes of any playoff driver. So I feel like after that penalty from last week at Darlington, Ryan Blaney needs to win the most, and coming to Richmond, one of his statistically worst tracks. it's certainly going to be an uphill battle. But however, he still got Bristol coming up next week. So maybe if Ryan Blaney has a bad Richmond, he can come to Bristol and try to secure a spot into the round of 12.
Yeah, it looks like Blaney is in a really tough spot. Richmond is one of his worst tracks, so I do agree with you. He needs to come out here, really, really good race. If he could pull off a win, even better. Bristol, Matt Benedetto, he's run there. Of course, he wants to really just improve his chances, try to get as many points, maybe get a win. The last thing he wants to be is in a must-win situation at Bristol, where so much can happen. The last driver to win here, and is not part of the playoffs this year, was Jimmy Johnson. That was back in 2008. So definitely we're going to be looking at seeing how Jimmy, or if anybody outside the playoffs, could try to get a win, which brings my question to you. Do you see any non-playoff driver winning today, especially a driver that's in the silly season rumors going on?
Now, to be honest with you, I don't really see that happening. I do think we're going to see a playoff driver in victory lane tonight, and also with everything going on, I feel like we will see a non-playoff driver win at some point during the playoffs, but I don't think tonight's going to be the day.
I don't think today's going to really be the day for a non-playoff driver. I do think it's going to be a playoff driver. We do see all the times once we get to the playoffs, it's going to always just be a lot of times the playoff drivers up front. And especially this year, the playoff drivers, they are starting up front each and every week during the playoffs with this new qualifying format. So definitely we're going to be talking more about NASCAR shortly in the program. We encourage all our fans as well too that are watching, discuss in the chat room. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions coming up with everything going on with the NASCAR playoffs. Now for that, we're going to now switch over to MotoGP with Jessica.
Yes, in MotoGP, after a break, MotoGP is back with San Marino Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo leads the points, but not much over Andrea Dovizioso. And after qualifying, Joey and Kobe, who will the MotoGP points lead?
I think when it comes to the points leader for MotoGP, I think Andre Dovizioso, he could do it. But the big thing, especially after we saw him qualify, he needs Fabio Quartararo to have a pretty lackluster race, fall back. But I definitely think Andrea has the experience to take that lead.
And I'm going to go to opposite Joe, and I'm going to say Fabio is going to keep the lead, but it's still going to be a slim margin. I just think he's going to have the better race weekend, and Andrea's still going to have to try to play catch up as the MotoGP season rolls on.
Let's take a look at the top 10 starters for tomorrow. We have in the first place with the position Maverick Viñales with Yamaha, second Franco Morbidelli, then we have Fabio Quartararo, for Valentino Rossi 5, Jack Miller, 6, Francesco Bagnaia, 7, Alex Rins, 8, Joan Mir, 9, Andrea Dovizioso, and 10, Johan Zarco. KTM starting on 5 of the and already 2 wins in there and Oliveira. Kobe, should KTM be considered a top manufacturer that can win each?
Well, it's certainly been a lot more open since Marc Marquez went out with that injury. You know, Honda hasn't been the same without Marc Marquez. Marc Marquez was Honda. He was like he was like their prized possession, and now that he's not there, and without Marquez, Honda is nowhere to be seen. So this really opens the door up for the other manufacturers, and I feel like that it's more equal now in MotoGP. So KTM, I think that they should be considered one of the top manufacturers to win tomorrow.
Let's take a look at the Misano World Series, Marco Moncelli. This is a great circuit. All the riders like to be here, and MotoGP rider Marco Moncelli, who passed away in 2011. They have 70 turns and 2 miles in this circuit in Italy. Only past winner race day is Valentino Rossi. Can Valentino Rossi in his Yamaha after the times this Saturday?
Well, definitely think when it comes to Valentino Rossi, especially when it comes to can he win today, I think I think we'll see a Yamaha win. I don't think it's going to be Rossi. He did really good practice, but I'm not sure if he could pull out a victory.
Yeah, I don't see Valentino Rossi winning either. Yeah, Valentino Rossi's still a wonderful rider, but based on everything that's happened so far this year, I just don't see him being in contention.
Green light post race will be a recap. Be sure to follow Paddock Inside on YouTube, on Twitter. Here you have the link to follow us. Los agradezco para que me sigan en Paddock Inside sobre las noticias de Fórmula 1 y MotoGP. Así que espero que me sigan acá en en las pantallas. Now we turn to Kobe for IndyCar doubleheader.
That's right. The NTT IndyCar Series has finally made it to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and the race was postponed earlier this year because of the number of escalating COVID-19 cases in the state of Ohio. And right now, Mid-Ohio is the only event scheduled in the month of September. And after this weekend, we're going to have 3 races remaining: the Harvest Grand Prix doubleheader at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, and the finale on the streets of St. Pete. Will we know who is in and out of the championship after this doubleheader race weekend at Mid Ohio?
I think we definitely will. Scott Dixon won there last year. Here we are. We're going to be so close to the end of the season. We'll have a clear picture of who's a contender for the championship, and we'll even know who are still mathematically eligible for the championship, but really are more of a pretender. They're within mathematical range, but they're probably going to fall out by the time we get to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and you did mention Scott Dixon won here last year. It was one of those exciting close finishes when he held off his Chip Ganassi Racing teammate Felix Rosenqvist, and both of them certainly have to be the favorites to win this weekend. And also their third teammate Marcus Ericsson, also driving with Chip Ganassi Racing, is really good on road course, especially with his experience coming from Formula One. And next year there's going to be another driver in the Chip Ganassi Racing stable in IndyCar. It's going to be 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson. Do you think there's going to be any sense of pressure for Rosenqvist and Ericsson to prove that they can compete for wins, especially with Jimmie Johnson coming in?
The pressure is always there. I think with Jimmie Johnson, it's going to make it where they want to race a little bit more because now they're going to have a 7-time champion come in their team, and they want to really look good before he gets there. It's always a deal where anytime you have a 7-time champion or any multiple-time champion from any discipline, if they're going to be your teammate, there's a lot of pressure to perform. I mean, even if it was going to be, say, Jamie Whincup, who has won multiple championships at Australian Supercar, if he was coming in, the pressure will be there. We know Scott McLaughlin is rumored to come in, so definitely for Scott McLaughlin, if he comes in, those Penske drivers, especially a driver like Will Power, who hasn't been doing that great lately, I feel the pressure will always intensify when you get such a championship caliber teammate.
Yeah, so when you look at the drivers, Felix Rosenqvist and Marcus Ericsson, Rosenqvist has had a lot of success in multiple disciplines, such as GT racing. I believe he raced in DTM as well, and also Formula E. And then Marcus Ericsson, we all know his experience in Formula One. Those 2 drivers would be very embarrassed if Jimmie Johnson comes in and outperforms them on a driver with very limited open wheel experience. I think Jimmy's only open wheel experience has been the IndyCar test, obviously, and then when he got to drive the McLaren Formula One car in the seat swap with Fernando Alonso in Bahrain. So I'm sure that Rosenqvist and Ericsson certainly will want to go out there and show that they can get the job done, especially with Jimmie Johnson joining Chip Ganassi Racing IndyCar team next year. I'm sure those guys certainly don't want to be shown up by a stock car racer. And now we're going to look at silly season in IndyCar. There's rumors out there that Sergio Perez might be evaluating a switch from Formula One to IndyCar, and McLaren said they would be interested in Perez if he decided to choose IndyCar as his next destination. And assuming that Perez doesn't find a drive in Formula One, he's been rumored at Alfa Romeo and Haas. And this question goes to Jessica. So, Jessica, what do you think of the possibility of Sergio Perez leaving Formula One and going to IndyCar?
I think he will continue Formula One. Remember that there is a GP in his country. He is the center of attention. I think his goal will focus on staying in Formula One.
Yes, certainly. I do think that Checo would love to stay in Formula One. I feel like he does have a lot of unfinished business there. With the Racing Point finally has a car that's very competitive, and obviously it's a shame that he's getting pushed out for Sebastian Vettel, but that's just what things are like in the business world. And looking at his only realistic options right now, Alfa Romeo and Haas. Yeah, it looks like Haas is finally going to change his driver's lineup after all of these years and start fresh. I feel like, with all the backing that Sergio Perez brings, he could certainly help out the Haas program, especially with all of the experience he has in Formula One. And Alfa Romeo, yeah, there might be a seat open next year, especially if Kimi Raikkonen decides to retire. And then when Antonio Giovinazzi, I mentioned before, he seems like he's on a short leash right now at Alfa Romeo. He might get dropped altogether, as one of the Ferrari drivers, over there at Alfa Romeo. So, and those rides right now, they aren't really competitive. So I'm not sure if Sergio Perez wants to ride it out back there towards the back of the grid instead of being a little bit closer to the front. And one other thing, I've been thinking about with Perez, that maybe if Red Bull gives us on Alex Albon, could he potentially slide in alongside Max Verstappen and stay competitive up towards the front? And that's certainly going to be something to watch out for. But I feel like if Formula One doesn't work out for next year, maybe we'll see Checo move to the NTT IndyCar Series. I feel like he would be really great for the series, considering has such a large following. Lots of fans love him, and I do think if Perez is committed to IndyCar long term, decides to make the switch, I think IndyCar will look towards racing in Mexico City at some point, because we're gonna then we'd have two Mexican drivers on the grid with Sergio Perez and then Pato O'Ward, and I certainly feel like that the fanfare down in Mexico would be wonderful for those two drivers. And now looking at things that's happening in Mid Ohio today, we're going to have qualifying this afternoon on the 2.258 mile 13 turn natural terrain road course. And past winners here at Mid Ohio include Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, Charlie Kimball, Alexander Rossi, hometown boy Graham Rahal, and Joseph Newgarden. So, Joe, do you think we can see a different winner today, or one of the names that I mentioned?
I think it's going to be one of the names you mentioned. I don't see a reason why Scott Dixon won't win. Joseph Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud, they're all contenders for the win. The only name I could see that wasn't there on that list that might pull off a win could be Felix Rosenquist. But I still think it's going to be one of the names that you mentioned.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think it's certainly gonna be a repeat winner. I don't really see us having a new winner this weekend at Mid Ohio. And if I had to pick one, it would certainly be Felix Rosenquist, because he almost had it last year with Dixon. That was certainly an exciting finish. And speaking of Dixon, he's the winningest driver at Mid Ohio with 6 wins. And if Dixon leaves Mid Ohio with a lead of 141 points or more, he only needs to start the remaining race on the schedule to win his 6th championship. And with the lead of 162 points or more, he can clinch the title, lock it up. Do you think Scott Dixon is going to surpass the 141 or 162 point lead this weekend?
I do see him surpassing the 141 marker this weekend. I see him winning likely today's race. If he doesn't win today's race, he's for sure, in my opinion, will win tomorrow's race. 96 points up. Really, he just has to finish the race, both of them, and he will be really close to that 141. Especially the others have bad luck. He is just so consistent and always consistently in the top 5.
Yeah, since the year 1980, 11 times, the winner of Mid Ohio has gone on to win the IndyCar Championship. So Mid Ohio is one of those races where you want to watch out for. And next, let's turn to Jessica for Formula One coverage.
That's right. The Tuscan Grand Prix and Mugello should be a great day for Ferrari. This has nothing to do with Ferrari celebrate. A slow car, Vettel announcement, Aston Martin Racing Point, and Kobe and Ferrari handled this weekend, and how will be remembered.
Well, I certainly think that Ferrari should just, celebrate the fact that they're in Mugello in Italy again for second consecutive week. I understand it certainly hasn't been the season that Ferrari's been hoping for. Sebastian Vettel didn't really do too hot in qualifying. Charles Leclerc did okay, dragging that Ferrari to a respectable starting spot. So, so I think if Charles Leclerc's gonna have a great race, is try to maximize the performance of him. It seems like Sebastian Vettel right now is lost on an island right now, just waiting to move over to Aston Martin, where hopefully it's gonna be happier days for him.
Yeah, this weekend it'll be remembered that Ferrari got their 1,000 race at Mugello. They're not going to really want to remember the results. I know Leclerc, he had some fast practice sessions. He's starting in the top 10, but still, I just don't see anything too memorable about long term how people are going to remember this weekend. How Ferrari handles it, this is a very important race weekend. This is a moment where I feel, especially for Charles Leclerc, this could be a turning point. If he was to pull off a really good finish, I mean, he already got one podium, surprisingly. If he could get a top 5, that's a win for this team with this car, and that could really just start getting everyone to rally around him for next year. And that's what I think Ferrari should be looking at.
Taking a look at the top 10 started for tomorrow. We have in the first place Lewis Hamilton, then Valtteri Bottas. In the third place, Max Verstappen, then Alex Albon. 5, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari. 6, Lance Stroll. 7, Sergio Perez. 8, Daniel. 9, and 10, Esteban Ocon. The other team from Alpha Tauri, Pierre Gasly, coming off the surprise win. Joy, where do you see him finish this weekend?
This weekend, a lot of hope was going into that team, but after their disappointing 16th place qualifying effort, if Pierre Gasly was to score points, I see him no higher than 8th place. That still means he has a lot of cars to pass. A lot of people have been talking about this could be a really hard track to pass. So for him to pass that many cars is going to be really tricky. It's going to come down to pit strategy and putting down some good laps during the in and out laps to try to take advantage of the undercut or the overcut. But I don't see him getting higher than 8th place.
Red Bull had a row Italian Grand Prix. Verstappen dropping out and Albon not after. Both Red Bull are in the top 5 for tomorrow's race. Kobe, is the important race for Red Bull to both win any challenge to Mercedes, especially Bottas for second in the championship?
Oh, absolutely. It's a really important race for Red Bull to rebound. If you look at the driver standings, Valtteri Bottas is in second right now with 117 points, and then Max Verstappen is only 7 points behind with 110. So I feel like that Max Verstappen can certainly catch Valtteri Bottas before the end of the season, move up to second. But when we're looking at the constructor standings, Mercedes is out front right now with 281 points, and then Red Bull Racing Honda is at 158. And certainly, they're falling behind right now in the constructors. And Max Verstappen and Alex Albon, especially Alex Albon, needs to make sure he's pulling his weight within the team. And Albon's really been struggling this season. So I feel like Albon's going to have to step up his game, and Max Verstappen keep maximizing potential of the car, because right now Mercedes is just running away with it. And looking at the rest of the constructor standings, we got McLaren in third with 98, Racing Point fourth 82. Renault fifth with 71, and Ferrari is in sixth in the constructor standings with 61. I never thought I'd ever say that Ferrari would be sixth in the constructors. And then AlphaTauri seventh, 47. And Alfa Romeo has 2 and 8. Haas ninth and 1, and then Williams bringing up the rear in the constructors 10th, and they don't have any points so far this season.
NASCAR Formula One has 8 races after Sunday left in 2020. Only 2 of them were on the calendar last year: Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. Is Lewis Hamilton the favorite to win after the all new tracks, or is more equal with the teams?
I think it's still going to be Lewis Hamilton the favorite to win. The car is really good. Today, he got the pole. That second lap during Q3, a lot of people anticipated to be faster. It wasn't, but still, we didn't see Verstappen put down a faster lap. Bottas, we will never know because he had to slow down due to the caution with Ocon spinning. But I think when it comes to the tracks that we haven't visited, I still see Lewis Hamilton being the favorite. He just has the car, he has the equipment, and the experience to do so.
Yeah, I agree with you right there, Joe. I don't see anybody else being the favorite to win at all the new tracks coming up on the schedule besides Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes. I, I mean, we always think Lewis Hamilton's going to be a favorite, but when you look back at the Italian Grand Prix last weekend, nobody expected that either. So maybe we see a Lewis Hamilton victory, maybe something crazy happens where we see a shock winner like Pierre Gasly.
Right, a look at the Mugello circuit. Let's take a look. This is a 24 corners, 3.259 miles. It's the first time Formula One racing here. This is a circuit for MotoGP. And Formula One tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern and 6 a.m. Pacific. And now back to NASCAR with Kobe.
Yeah, and this week's silly season really took off, with Bubba Wallace announcing that he's going to be leaving Richard Petty Motorsports, and two rides that Bubba Wallace is linked to is the number 42 Chevrolet at Chip Ganassi Racing and the number 48 at Hendrick Motorsports. And also, Matt DiBenedetto right now is unsure about his plans for next year, and DiBenedetto has the ninth worst average finish among all active drivers at Richmond. And with Austin Cindric in the Xfinity Series in the Team Penske pipeline, Cindric continues to perform extremely well in Xfinity. And with Austin Cindric performing so well, it might be hard to be like, yeah, you need to stay another year in Xfinity. And with the future uncertain with the number 21 Ford Mustang with the Wood brothers, how big will a second round appearance help Matt DiBenedetto secure a ride, and will it be enough to hold off Austin Cindric, who might be a candidate for that ride?
I do see a second round playoff performance being a good way for telling the Wood brothers, this is why we need to work together. This is our first year together, and we made it to the second round. Yes, we're winless. Maybe they will have a win by the time they get to the second round, but we got to keep building this up. We can't just drop it. Will it be enough, though? That's really hard, especially with Austin Cindric waiting outside. I think for DiBenedetto, if he gets to the Elite Eight, then I could see him having more of a case and more of a chance of retaining that seat for next year.
Yeah, yes, sir. Then Matt DiBenedetto is going to have to work really hard if he's going to keep that seat for next year, because every time Austin Cindric goes out there and competes well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, especially when he wins, it's certainly going to be a lot harder for Matt DiBenedetto to keep that ride. And it's really unfortunate if DiBenedetto ends up being out, because he's certainly given that 21 car a much better run than Paul Menard ever did. And DiBenedetto, I feel like he needs to have a team that believes in him consistently, and a team he can stay with year after year, instead of having to pack up and leave at the end of each season. I do feel like once Matt DiBenedetto is able to find some stability in his career, I think everything's going to be all right. And certainly right now, it's an uneasy situation because he doesn't know if he's going to be back, or Austin Cindric, as mentioned, Team Penske Pipeline could be looking to move up to the Cup Series next year. And it doesn't look like the Team Penske is going to expand to a 4-car operation. So right now, if Cindric doesn't go to Xfinity another year and needs a Cup ride, I feel like Matt DiBenedetto might be the odd one out. And going back to Richard Petty Motorsports and Bubba Wallace, with the 43 being open now, there are several drivers rumored to take that seat, and one of them is Daniel Suarez. However, Daniel Suarez is with Gaunt Brothers Racing right now, and it seemed like at the start of the season he was committed to starting with his team that's running towards the back of the pack. Sometimes it finish up in the midfield. Yeah, it seems like Suarez wanted to remain committed to Toyota and Gaunt Brothers Racing and try to build them into a contender. However, this could be a prime opportunity for Daniel to take his sponsorship to a team a little bit further up the grid. And Richard Petty Motorsports has an alliance with Richard Childress Racing, and with the news of Jermaine Racing, Geico not returning next year, and potential sale of the team, Ty Dillon's future is up in the air. Do you think Ty Dillon could be a candidate for the number 43 at Richard Petty Motorsports, given the RCR alliance?
I do see that as a possibility. I mean, Richard Schuller's equipment right there. if there could be a sponsorship deal for Ty Dillon to slide into that 43 car, I think that'd be a great fit. And then the other thing too, Ty Dillon, a lot of people remember he was a driver that early on, shortly after the George Floyd murder, he and Bubba Wallace got together and did that Instagram video. I do see him where a lot of people would like to see, him in that 43 car, just because he is one of the guys that has been very supportive of Bubba Wallace, been voicing his concerns about everything going on in the country, and I think it'll be a really good story because I know there's a lot of people that wish Bubba Wallace could stay in that 43. He's made that 43 really big, but as the nature of racing, you got to go where the best opportunities are, and I think the 43 and Ty Dillon could be a great opportunity for both of them.
Yeah, I think the 43 could also be a good option for Ty Dillon, especially if he wants to remain in the RCR family that way. Yeah, and Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, yeah, they're candidates. Also, maybe Eric Jones could be a candidate as well. And see on NASCAR.com also listed Landon Castle too. Landon Castle. They mentioned he's had like nearly 500 starts in the National Series so far, and still just barely past 30 years old. So maybe Landon Castle could finally have his opportunity to have probably what you consider the best ride that he's had so far in the Cup Series. So and Castle's mostly been on the sidelines this year, so maybe he could sneak into the conversation as well. Mentioned on NASCAR.com, and now looking at the playoffs right now, Blaney, Custer, Boyer are in the bottom four with Matt DiBenedetto, and Blaney 17 points out right now, and that penalties really hurt him. Will any of these four win, and should they go for the win or at least stage points on a solid finish?
Depending on each driver, I feel DiBenedetto definitely try to go for the win. If he sees early on he doesn't have a car for a win, try to take opportunities to get as many stage points as possible, even that means risking a poor start in the second and the third stage. If you know you can't get the win at tonight, you got Bristol, you ran really well there, but definitely try to get as much stage points. Blaney, Boyer, definitely I feel like just try to go for the win. There is such a big hole. There need to get a good run. And then for Cole Custer, I feel the only thing he should be really trying to do is just go for wins each week. He has really, I think out of all the playoff drivers, the least amount of pressure. Nobody anticipated him to make the playoffs in his rookie year. So it's totally, I feel, much more forgivable if he does a rookie mistake trying to go for a win compared to a more experienced driver making a mistake that people would say only a rookie would do that.
And now here's a look at many of the women racing this weekend. And Natalie Decker and Jennifer Jo Cobb already raced Thursday in the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series at Richmond. It was a real disappointing night for those ladies. Natalie Decker, 34th, Jennifer Jo Cobb, 36th. And be sure to follow our friends at Racers, the girls behind the helmet. Also, Thursday on Grid Network, we're going to have our newest program, Grid Girls, solely dedicated to women in motorsports. And before we move on to our Pick a Winner segment, want to show you all the F2 feature race results from today. The race just finished up a little while ago, and Nikita Mazepin won the feature race, the Tuscan Grand Prix, and round out the podium is Luca Giotto and Louis Delatraz, and completing the rest of the top 10 is Felipe Drukovic, Mick Schumacher, Christian Lingard, Yuri Vips, Artem Markelov, Marcus Armstrong, and Jahan Deruvala.
Now it's time to pick a winner. We have 5 races, 5 opportunities to gain points on COVID. We'll race Formula One. Who will win? Kobe?
Going with the safe pick, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes keep on rolling with the championship.
I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. I think he's going to get the win.
I think the winner will be Hamilton. And for IndyCar, who will win? Joy?
For IndyCar, I think it's going to be Scott Dixon this race. I'm going to go with Will Power for Sunday. I think he'll pull it off.
Today, going with Scott Dixon. And tomorrow, Joseph Newgarden.
And let's be and I will go first. And it's difficult to say or pick a winner with all the stuff what happening in the MotoGP race, but I have to say Eric Viñales the chance to win this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jessica here and say Maverick Vinales as well.
I'm gonna make it a sweep. It's gonna be Maverick Vinales. He's been knocking on the door, and I see him pulling off the win.
And final NASCAR, who will win, Kobe?
Well, I mentioned that I don't think Denny Hamlin's going to win this weekend, and that it would be another JGR driver, and that JGR driver is going to be Martin Truex Jr. After coming close to winning the Southern 500 last weekend. You're trying to battle Chase Elliott, and when everything went wrong, I think he's finally going to get the victory at Richmond to make up for last week.
I'm gonna go with the Chevrolet driver. I think Chase Elliott is gonna pull off this win, secure himself in the second round. He always seems to rebound after a disappointing race. He had a disappointing race at the Southern 500. He's gonna rebound and get the win tonight.
And we encourage every comment with your picks. Who will the winner in each race and see make into can make it into the scoreboard.
Definitely, we encourage everyone to participate and pick a winner. A lot of fun. We want to thank everyone for tuning in today, especially. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sunday, we'll have Grid Live post race. We're going to recap all the race in action. Wednesday, Grid Tonight, reporting on all the news going on, including a sneak peek at the 24 Hours of Le Mans coming up. Thursday, Grid Girls, our newest program. We're very excited to be working with racers, the girls behind the helmet, to make that program possible. We encourage everyone to follow both the World Motorsport League and Grid Rank on Twitter at grid_WML and Grid Rankin. Be sure to visit Kobe at thepodiumfinish.net. A lot of great articles there. And of course, Jessica at Paddock Inside on Twitter and YouTube. On behalf of Kobe and Jessica, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the races.